Thanks for having me on once again. My name is Steven Stokes. Everyone calls me Coach Stokes. Not a big fan of my first name. And yeah, my mom gave that to me. It's more of a personal family thing, but I really reside on the identity of being a coach. It's a lot of the passion behind what it is that me and my partner are building and the business that we're putting together, we're talking about today. Both coaches. He coached me. We've coached together. And coaches were some of the most influential people in my life, with daddy issues and things of the sort as a child. A lot of the coaches are the men who helped shape me into the man that I am today, that I'm still growing into today. And I think everybody needs a good coach in their life at every stage of their life as well. I spent my life because of coaches and the culture I grew up in, chasing the dream of American football. It worked out for me in a very unorthodox way, things I didn't even know that were possible. I ended up going to Canada professionally, and that led me going to Europe. And I've played in over 10 different countries and been paid to see the world. But I was too pig headed and narrow minded to actually see the world. So I'm living in places like Italy, and now I'm living in Europe and Finland and Germany. And I played in Spain and Switzerland. I saw nothing in any of these places. Like I was just there, eyes on the prize, playing ball. I'm super focused on trying to get to the next level. So I missed a lot of the culture that I was embraced in, but I also learned that I can survive and even thrive in any culture that I'm put into. And it was actually out here in Finland that I came up with the product that is now turned into a business. And it started with me and my partner back in California when I was trying to become a pro. And that's what led to what we created. So, um, our business, Two8 Bandz, my number was 28 when I played. That's part of the reference of it. But the two and the eight coming together, kind of form an infinity sign, two in there, and there's an eight in there. And it's about being together forever in the things that we do, and the infinite energy that we put forward when you genuinely help someone. And as a coach, when you pass that on, it gets passed on and on and on and on. So it's about that continuation of energy. That's the mission by what we stand by. Our motto is to move better. So we built a tool to help people move better physically. You move better physically, you move better mentally, you feel better. And we're big on moving better ethically as well, just being good people, creating sustainable products that don't create a lot of waste and eliminate the waste for inferior products that have currently flooded the market. We track our CO2 emissions when we ship. We're very mindful in our packaging and everything we try to do. We try to just make sure it's sustainable and worthwhile. We don't want to sell junk whatsoever. So we're very, very limited in what we even put out there, because we want whatever we put our name and our brand on to be something people can stand by and stand by for a long time because of the quality and the performance of it.
Kind of going back in time a little bit into your past and with sports, what was football always the one for you? Was that the sport for you, or was there a culmination of like playing this, trying that? What was it for you?
When my dad was in my home, he was my brother's coach. So I have an older brother, and my other brother's actually really good at baseball. And my dad coached me at t-ball. But I just remember following them to football practice, being too young to participate, but I would just be on the sideline doing everything they did, mirroring and shadowing what was going on. And then when my parents split, I never got that opportunity to be coached by my father, but I always just knew that I wanted to play. But through high school, track and field, recreationally play basketball. Basketball is actually my favorite sport. But football was something I actually wasn't even that good at. It was just something that I was determined to be good at. I was not what you would call a natural athlete, but I just think part of it was me trying to hold on to, I guess, that relationship I was missing with my father. It was how I related to my brother. And I think it's how I validated myself. If I could do this, then I would get their approval, kind of a thing.
Gotcha.
And then it just became to a point where I'm a very, very committed person. I have like a dog mentality. Like I go really hard and I stick to the same thing over and over again. So once I was like, I'm a ball player. Um, every no, every naysayer was just more fuel for the fire to just keep on pushing. And then when I finally started to see a little bit of success, I was like, all right, this is me. I'm gonna make it work.
And
And it just stuck.
so with sports, was training, physical training, obviously you're going to have your sports training, but was the weight room and was strength conditioning a big part of that for you? Or like when did you start to get into seeing the benefits of that?
Senior year of high school. So actually, I would say my sophomore year of high school was when my parents got me out of the hood, which was one of the best things that ever happened in my life because I was not going down the right path. And when they got me out, there was nothing else to do but ball, and my new friend group quickly became just the guys on the team. And all I asked for my 15th birthday was like, I just want this universal weight set. And mom got it for me. It's like $150. It's in the garage. It's, not even Olympic weights on there. It's the little, with the little holes. But I just had this like universal machine in the garage, and I was just there every day. No clue what I was doing, but I was moving it. And then after I think I was MVP of the JV team, and then I got brought up for playoffs for varsity football, and I actually was able to play a little bit and did something. So I was like, I'm ready. I was ready to take that next step. And then the first day of the off season, the coaches came in. They're like, we've been doing some research, and we realize now that Olympic lifting is the way to go. If you don't learn these lifts, you don't play. So me, I'm very calculated. I said, all right, I'll be the best lifter. So still to this day, I was over almost 15, no, 20, 25 years ago. Hey, man, I forgot how old I am. But I still have records on the wall there, and I set some Olympic lifting records at that time because that was just my focus. It's like coach said, this is what you got to do to play. So I learned the techniques. We were out there PVC pipes for like 2 months, and then just getting after it every single day. So a few junior weightlifting records for Olympic lifting for clean and jerk, and then and by the time I got to college, I was squatting over 600 pounds, almost to my detriment because I was busy focusing on lack, and the lack was that I was short. I was a small guy, and instead of leaning into what would be beneficial for me, which was speed, I was just power, power, power. So pound for pound, I was always one of the strongest guys on the team. And that just kind of stuck with me until injury and later in my professional career, and I started to understand movement better. So it became a mixture of body weight movements, plyometrics, those type of things to enhance my power and my speed as opposed to just being in the weight room all the time. But the weight room was the original foundation. All I knew is that the coaches said you have to be able to do these lifts, which no one had ever done. Like we had never heard of an Olympic lift. It was just bench press and squat. I can't remember actually even lifting weights with the team or on campus as a sophomore. It was just what I did in my garage. And this is when YouTube isn't even a thing. This is when information was very hard to come by at this point. So I remember the only thing I really had was an East Bay magazine, and I'm just pulling off of those images of what do the best athletes look like they do here. And I would literally have to go to the library and try to figure out, what do you do? And the information was just so limited that whatever I could get my hands on, and being small, I knew that lifting weights would make me bigger. So that was my primary focus. Was I got to add a little bit of size because, when your nickname is Webster, you're gonna get pushed around a little bit. So for me, it was a defense mechanism more than anything. And the fact that I wanted to add size, I never really even equated it to performance, and then I didn't understand how to optimize it for performance until probably getting out of college. But as a professional, when it was all on me and I didn't have coaches telling me what to do, it forced me to learn more and to understand more and to learn how to optimize it to be functional, what I was doing. I didn't know it when I was in it, but then when I got to junior college, when my junior college was literally 5 minutes away, like we even shared the same home field when I went to JC, and I had a few scholarship offers, but not for positions I wanted to play. So I decided to go to junior college. And when I got to the junior college, like I said, my parents got me out of the hood. The guys who were in the hood started coming to the junior college because most of them didn't have the grades. I went to a school that, I was good academically, and the education was pretty high for a public school. So I had a lot of privilege around me, and the fact that they brought this tool to me, I'm seeing all of these guys come in at college level, and it was brand new for all of them. And for me, it was stuff I had been doing for the last 2.5 years. So it's like, okay, I'm ahead of the game. And people would gravitate to me to teach them. And that's kind of how I got into the role of being a leader and a coach, because it's like I always had a leg up on everyone else. So I just took it at that point. It's like, all right, I'm privileged. I know more than most of these kids, or I went to high school differently than these kids. I got much more out of my experience than they ever did. And I'm like, it's amazing that they're able to even get to this level that they are now without having this toolage. I thought this was just normal and basic for everyone else.
Right.
But apparently I had a leg up, and I'm glad I took advantage of it and did it as hard as I could. If I go back to my freshman year, we had an A team and a B team, and I played on both. So I played more football than anybody else. But I can't tell you where the weight room is on that campus. I don't even remember that even being an aspect, and we were terrible. It was awful. It was a horrible experience. I was so thankful that my brother, incentivized my parents to get me out of that situation. And I had no idea. I was just going where I was told to go, but I ended up in a very privileged situation. And even in my junior college, it was a step up, but I'm seeing all these people that don't understand this information that I did. And then we had great resources. So then when I did get a scholarship and left junior college, um, I went on a couple visits, but that was the reason I turned down a few scholarships, because I was like, "Where's the weight room?" And I was like, "I can't go backwards. I can't leave junior college and have something worse. This sucks. So sorry, guys, I can't be here."
Right.
So that ultimately led to where I wanted to go to university.
And how much turnover is there in the athletes in junior college? Like, just is it like, does it happen much during the season, or is it like just at the end of the season there's a lot of turnover? How does that work?
There's a lot because it's a 2-year program, right? There's a chance you can be there in a 3-year program if you kind of understand what you're doing is for your eligibility clock and things like that. But at the same time, you're trying to race out of there. If you're in junior college, the stigma is you didn't do something right to get to a 4-year. So now you're trying to fix your wrongs, which is not the truth of the matter. But in your head as a kid, it's like, all right, I wasn't good enough, or I didn't handle my grades, or I didn't do this. And now there has to be a greater sense of urgency because this is absolutely my last shot. So, yeah, it's guys, all the sophomores are seniors essentially. It's their second year there, they're playing and they're done. They have seniority. And then you come in your first year, you're trying to get your beak wet, and then you got one more year after that and you're done. So it's the turnover is crazy, and it's fast paced. It's a vital piece, I think, that is often overlooked. Watching Last Chance U
Right.
is watching my story over and over again, and it's like, man, I did this 20 years ago. How is it exactly the same still? But it is. It's very entertaining, frustrating, nostalgic, but it's exactly how it really is in real life. No fabrication.
And is there even more competition at that junior college level for that playing spot, because like that it is so short term, that like there's going to be a limited number of opportunities to be seen and to get that scholarship? Or do you feel like that it's pretty much the same competition as far as like people wanting that starting spot?
I wouldn't say there's more. I'd say there's a wider scale. So there's guys like from my junior college football team, I think there's at least 6 guys that made it to the NFL. At the same time, the first day of camp, because it's a cheap school to get into, and basically anyone can go to the team. The first day of camp, there's over 120 guys that show up, and by the first end of the first week, there's about 70 guys. So you just see this wide range of variation of people that don't belong there whatsoever, and people that are already ready for the NFL, all in the same field. They just have some gap in their story for where they're going. as opposed to being in a university where everyone is a little bit more even kill, more on the same playing level. And there's like two or three standouts, but not as many guys that would never be on the field or something of the sort. So
Gotcha.
it's just a much wider gap. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, I played in two different colleges after junior college, and there was no team that I ever played on that would have ever competed with my junior college team. There's just so many great athletes on that team in that area. But we also had some pretty bad players out there as well, that needed to fill certain spots. So it's a weird dynamic, but it's a much wider range.
Are you looking for a supplement company that can help take your fitness game to the next level? Look no further than All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Their cutting-edge supplements are scientifically formulated to give you the edge you need in the gym and in life. Whether you're looking to build muscle, increase endurance, or boost recovery time, All Sport Pharmaceuticals has you covered. And with a wide range of products designed for people of all levels, you're sure to find the perfect supplement for your needs. So why wait? Give your body the support it deserves with All Sport Pharmaceuticals. Visit their website today to learn more and start achieving your fitness goals. Is there like maybe the line isn't as good, or maybe like cornerbacks aren't generally as good, or like is there typically a position that just lags in junior college, or is it just kind of like all over the board, which one might be good, which one might not be as good?
It all comes down to recruiting, who you're going up against. To be honest, can't really say I had a great junior college team. Like there's some, I think we had over 20 guys get D1 scholarships, and I wasn't even one of them. And I've probably had one of the most prolific careers afterwards. And I was like honorable mention for all conference. Meanwhile, we got all Americans and guys with much more accolades. We didn't really have weaknesses in our squad. And then when you saw a weaker team, they were pretty much weak all around. There wasn't like, oh, there's a few good players at this position or something of the sort. I would say the scarcity is more, and it's at every level, as a lineman, because there's a lot of little guys that can move around. There's a lot more just in general population. But finding people that are over 6 feet tall, over 300 pounds, and that are actually athletic, that's a scarce resource no matter what level you're
at. Yeah.
So
once you got that scholarship opportunity, what was that like for you? Did it compare to what you like the experience that you thought it was going to be? Like, what was it like to get that opportunity?
Opportunity was great. I felt like what I had cried over and literally tortured myself over kind of came to fruition. But it was horrible. The actual experience in actuality is, age old adage, careful what you wish for. It was absolutely horrible, but it was horrible because of the university I chose to go to and how the organization and the management was run there. It just made for a bad experience. It didn't deter me at all, but when I started driving, again, this is before the internet, and dating myself on how old I am and everything. Not before the internet, but before like smartphones and things of the sort. So we literally drove across the country. I went to school in Detroit. So I'm driving from Los Angeles to Detroit with printed out maps from MapQuest. And in the middle of my journey, I stopped to watch the Lakers three-peat, Kobe and Shaq. And in the middle of the game, a tornado came over the top of us and wiped my car out. So, kid leaves home for the first time ever, and the first thing that happens is he hit by a tornado. So it was a pretty interesting road trip, to say the least. But it was a foreshadow for the experience of what I went into, dorm rooms with rats, roaches, prostitutes walking off the street into your rooms, no meal plan, just a very poorly run organization, to the point that after the first season, I was just sitting in the office one day listening to the coach talk, and I was like, I'm done. Packed up my stuff and I drove out. And as I drove out, I got stuck in a blizzard. So not sure when I'm making the right decision on the travel, but I got out of there and then graduated at a smaller college in Eastern Oregon University, where it was much fewer resources, much smaller campus, but better leadership. And that's what it all comes down to. And that even wasn't even a scholarship. I had to work and pay for that to pay for my final year of college. But the fact that I was able to graduate and then play for good coaching really shaped the fact and the passion that I still wanted to play after.
Right.
But the scholarship ended up being probably one of the worst football experiences of my life.
Because you kind of had that experience that you're talking about where it was maybe like a complete opposite as far as like leadership, it sounds like. How much of that do you think you understood how good the leadership was in that second opportunity because you saw maybe what it wasn't before?
Well, that really highlighted what the next situation I put myself into. But the other magnifying glass on how bad the leadership and the coaching was when I was at Wayne State University was the fact that my junior college coaches were awesome. Like, I learned absolutely nothing at the new school I went to. And if you go from one coaching staff to the next and they're saying things that even your high school coaches knew more, it's hard to respect them. It's hard to, and I'm born in a military base or Air Force base, so I understand structure. Yes sir, no sir. Treat people with respect, the chain of command, but it's very difficult when someone's leading you into battle, literal battle, and they have no clue what they're talking about. It put a magnifying glass on it in both ways.
Yeah.
Like, one, I've come from better coaching, and then two, when I left and got better coaching, like, okay, I know I wasn't just delusional. My own personal situation, they were really bad at what they were doing. There's great coaches out there. There's bad coaches out there, and they both equally influence us. And it's just about the difference between winning and losing. You learn more almost from losing than you do from winning. So I take it as a learning experience. I've won the Super Bowl in Italy, won the Super Bowl in Finland, and as a Hall of Famer in Europe and a Super Bowl champion, I can tell you, one of the most dissatisfying things in sports ever is winning a championship. And that might sound counterintuitive or contradict the purpose of it all, but when your hunger and your drive is to hold that trophy at the end of the season, you get so narrow-minded, you get so much tunnel vision, and you put so much of yourself into it that when it actually actualizes and that moment comes, it's the greatest feeling of excitement for like a couple of seconds. And then you're like, now what? Like, all I've been programmed to is to grind and to fight for this. And I got it. So, like, is this it? Like, why aren't more people coming around? Why aren't there more parades or more celebrations? There's only so much alcohol you can consume. And I'm like, this just, and you almost get an autopilot to just like, all right, well, let me just go do that again. But I learned throughout the years, and especially in reflection, because I literally drive by the stadium where I played in the Super Bowl here 3 times, and I've lost 2, and I won 1. I don't think about the win at all. Like, it just doesn't pop in my head really. But every time I drive by there, I remember the loss. So, oh man, if we just did this one more, and it just sticks so much more. And I'm not saying that it was better, but it obviously wants to teach me more in my life experiences, or something I haven't been able to deal with more. And the biggest thing, when I look back on my career, I wouldn't change anything. It's given me all the opportunities that I have in my life and my family and everything else. But the only thing I would do differently is I would enjoy the journey a lot more. Kobe talks about this a lot, where it's just like, it's not about the destination. You know where you want to go, and getting to that destination is validation of a certain extent, but you got to learn to enjoy the journey. And I'm somebody who always just naturally enjoyed training, and I enjoyed practice. So that part was natural for me. It's not something that I sat back and appreciated. I just thought it was the way of life.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult in retirement, because I would go to the gym and look at people on the treadmill. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what? You're not even going anywhere. You're not going to score anything. I'm like, and I would sit in the gym and literally I wouldn't do anything. It's like, I'm not scoring any touchdowns. Like, why am I here? I just showed up. Like, I don't even know how I got here, but I don't know what to do. So it took a while before I could get back into, a new journey, and it being about the journey as opposed to just trying to reach a final destination. I look at human nature a lot because I think that pertains to, what motivates us and what inspires us, what the purpose of life is. We don't get too philosophical, but part of our human nature, our primal instinct is progression, right? If I don't do something and I'm idle, my brain will I'll see some senses of atrophy, like if I don't use a muscle. So if we're not progressing, inherently we think almost negatively of that. Like I'm going the opposite direction. So to win it all, it's literally the culmination and the stopping point. I cannot progress anymore. So unless I try to do this again and do it better, all I can do at this point is regress. Or, so it does have that bittersweet feeling to it.
And is that what led you to starting what you started, starting the business that you started, and trying to like continue that grind and like that? How can I continue to push in my own life without this other thing that I used to use?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Business is my new sport. I didn't realize it. I was kind of encouraged to do this. My wife was encouraging me to do it because it was a different way I trained throughout my career and how I got back from knee surgery and winning the title and, league MVP and all that stuff after my knee was completely destroyed. So she was frustrated with me buying different products all the time to kind of do the same thing. She's like, just make your own. Like, yeah, it makes sense. And I kind of halfway did it. And it's almost been like a 10-year journey to get to this point because I didn't know, I had no clue. I even studied some business in college. That was part of my minor, but none of it pertained to the world that I lived in at this point because business changes almost as fast as technology changes. Some basic principles stay the same, but e-commerce wasn't a thing, and that's 100% of my business at this point. So I had to learn a whole new game, and you learn through experience. So I went out and experienced and took a lot of L's right out the gate, to the point where I almost gave up because I was like, these L's affect not just me, they affect my family. They affect the finances that support my family. So I almost wrapped it up. But then right at that pinnacle is when I kind of figured it out, found my niche, found my groove and what I wanted to do and really bring to the people. And the great thing about it is even from day one, the mission's never changed. I just want to help people move better. Like that's always been the foundation of it, and it's truer now than ever. And we're actually doing it in ways that we never imagined whatsoever.
Was that niche, was finding that groove? Tell us a little bit more about that. Was that like the specific product? Was that how you were going about designing it? What was that?
The product and the design, 100%. Because we make these bands, right? This nice compact band that can fit in your pocket, but it's the only band that's wearable on your upper body and lower body with no extra accessories, attachments, anything needed whatsoever. I can anchor it to a door, a tree, a pole. I can turn any situation into essentially a weight room, but then I can also practice my actual sport. We never want to take an athlete out of their element, right? So if I'm on the field, stay on the field. If I'm in the pool, stay in the pool. If I'm on the court, stay on the court. And we were able to accomplish that with this by making it something that was comfortable like clothes, but also wearable and functional, but giving you mechanical correction in the way that you move. So we're always working on the mechanics of the art that you're trying to perform while adding speed, power, and stamina at the same time. So seeing results not just from working harder, but from optimizing the way you work and making you work harder at the same time. And it all came down to a very simple design that was the same premise in the beginning. It was just overcomplicated. We're talking Velcro straps, metal clips, plastic clips, belts, different types of elastic with rubber and hazards and bulky shipping that was just expensive, like every nightmare you can imagine. And you can just see, like, this is why people don't do this. This is why this isn't something that gets done. But then but the functionality and the premise of it all still ultimately worked. It just wasn't feasible as a business. But then when I finally got to this design, I was actually I'm a work in technology as well. And I was actually going to Denmark to become a Google certified innovator. And it's like this crash course for a weekend where you're just sitting in there with 30 other educational innovators and they're just picking apart all your ideas and you're trying to come up with something new and big to work on for the next year. And I had taken my previous prototype there. I actually sold a couple of units there because people understood the concept of what I was trying to accomplish. And 2 out of the 3 units I sold there, people were contacting me a week later because something busted and they needed new parts. And it was horrible.
This podcast is sponsored by Smoking Gun Coffee, a veteran-owned coffee company that strives to give back to those in need. Don't forget to use code TWR10 for a 10% discount at checkout.
That it just wasn't something I could stand by. But while in that program, I literally came across the design and the functionality of how I wanted it to work. And I just remember the day I was sitting on the couch and I was like, I figured it out. Like, holy crap. Like, this is the answer right here. It was in my hand. And to speak specifically to your question, when the product was right, because I'm huge on my brand. I don't care what people think about me, but I do care what I put into the world. You know, I truly, I always tell my partners the 3 C's. You gotta be crazy, you gotta be committed, you gotta be consistent. And commitment and consistency have never been a problem. And I'm pretty good to crazy too, but we're crazy enough to believe we can change the world. And that comes with a lot of no's, it comes with a lot of failures, but genuinely believing in what you do and knowing that you're doing something that's worthwhile, it's actually changing lives. Like I have some stories that almost brought me to tears, honestly, where people are using what we built to learn to walk again, to inspire them to get over diseases and ailments. That it's just like, man, that wasn't what I envisioned, but I envisioned people moving better, and I didn't put it in a small category. I was like, this is for anyone, everybody. And that makes marketing incredibly difficult. But at the same time, it's coming to fruition, you know?
Right.
We had a kid who was heart stopped in PE, he had a condition, was pronounced dead for like 11 minutes. And they brought him back. But of course, brain damage, can't speak properly, can't move properly. And his trainer was like, yeah, I had an idea, man. I was going to slap these bands on his thighs, give him a little bit of resistance and hip activations and try to step up on a tire and just watch him. And he sends us the video. He's like, watch this guy. It's like, we're stepping on there and he's fighting through that resistance, but it's what we call positive resistance because it's a little different than weights tearing muscle fibers and things like that. Plus, because of the multiple loops in here, you can adjust the levels of resistance. So he's able to adjust it to fit this kid's level. And he's able to step on the tire. And then after that, he's like, this kid, it felt like he had like lightning in his shoes. And he took a couple steps for the first time on his own after, they've been training for months. And this kid has been in this condition for years. And it's like, all right, this is changing lives legit. And then I had a guy at the office who was getting medication because his lungs were collapsing because of the pandemic. He was always in front of his computer and he was hunched over too much. And it was literally collapsing his lungs, causing anxiety attacks and shortness of breath. And then he was able to wear this on his arms to pull his shoulders back and correct his posture. He's like, I was off medication 2 days, man.
Wow.
Just lined me up. And I was like, I didn't make it for that, but I love the story.
Yeah.
But I did, I guess, make it for that, but I never thought of that when it came to what we were trying to build. So
yeah,
like extremely gratifying. And those are the stories we always lean into or go back to when you feel the stresses and the woes of trying to actually make a business out of something.
Right.
But yeah, I love it, man. It's my new, and business does not have an inline. There is no, I won the championship. There's measurables all the time where I wake up and I'm like, oh God, that was a terrible day. Sales sucked. But, yesterday we had a great day, and it's like, it's the true embodiment of the everyday journey. So that's the part I love about it the most. And just knowing that there'll be ups and downs, but I'm in the game.
It's pretty crazy. I mean, it's interesting because I think there's two sides to like products and innovation. And I think it was Henry Ford who said, if we asked the people what they wanted, they would say faster horses, and I think there's that mindset too of like people sometimes don't know what they want, but then when they see it, they know like, oh, this is it. And this is, and they probably never thought like, when they first created the car that one day it'll be, a driving or a, self-driving, and then one day it'll be, a flying car. Next day it'll be a rocket ship, and, all these different things. But it's that like, how can we create something in our brains and then let other people almost like figure out how that's going to work for them.
100%. And that's the hardest part, because like I know it works. I swear by it. I live by it like it's religion. But I'm like, I figured this out a long time ago, and it benefited me so much that I want to give it to other people. But how do you make everyone else understand? And even, do they even know that they want to understand? But I love that quote, by the way. You know, everybody would just say they want faster horses. That's awesome. You know, because at something as simple as a resistance band, it's like we already have those, and they work, and they've been around for forever. It's like, you're right. And I've used them, and I swore by them because I know that they work. Just like people rode horses because it works better than walking and running yourself. But I knew that it could be better because there were so many pain points that I experienced during that time. And it's like, I just got to sit down and crack the equation on how to eliminate all those pain points and give you guys something quality. And we got there.
Yeah.
We did. I just got to let the world know about it.
And so how does your brain work to continue to be like, well, this is a great product, but like what can we do to become like, to add on to that? How can we like continue to make something else or a slight change or variation? Like is that something that you're constantly thinking about? Is it something that just like has moments that pop into your head, or, you know, how does your brain work in that sense?
I look at fitness as a holistic thing. Yeah, constantly. I'm always like, you know, one, I got it right. It took me so long to get it right, but why should I be looking to change it or upgrade it? And it's simple little things that we do, but it's also things that set us apart from anyone else. And it's about making it more convenient, making it more effective, affordable, more sustainable. Those are things we look into, but now it's about the integration, because at the end of the day, this is just a useless piece of elastic unless someone picks it up and puts it to use. So the focus shifts more now to people. How can I talk to more people? How can I talk to people differently? And honestly, there's not much we do differently with the product other than, hey, let me put your logo and your colors on here. Let me change the design a little bit so it might be a little more aesthetically appeasing to you, or appealing to you. But at the end of the day, it's still the same band doing the same functionality. The most innovation we have in here is there's an NFC chip inside here. So you can just tap your phone on there, pops up with our application. So then that's the next phase. Is all right, now we have an application, so we don't put paper instructions in the package, so you're not just going to receive something you're going to throw away and make more waste. Now everybody has a phone on them, right? So tap that, you got your coach in your pocket, you got your assistant coach in your pocket, the band. And then now we're just working on trying to collaborate with as many quality coaches as possible to see what they would build around the bands, and just provide that for all the 2-8ers out there, that they jump on there and you want it to be like the Netflix of fitness. You hop into our app and it's what you want to do. How you feel like training some football skills today? It doesn't matter if you play football or not. We're going to show you how this can teach you some basic fundamentals. You know, you want to practice some volleyball skills. You want to just work out for CrossFit. You want to get in the weight room and see how these adapt inside the weight room. Because again, we never want to pull the athlete out of their element. So these play nicely with everything else. Like there's no product out there that you can say, well, this doesn't work with that. We always find a way that it can be. It's like the Swiss Army knife, or like the ninja of resistance bands. It just finds a way in there to enhance the experience.
Looking for a supplement company that's as serious about your fitness goals as you are? Allsport Pharmaceuticals is here to help. Their top-of-the-line supplements are designed to help you get the most out of every workout with ingredients that have been scientifically proven to enhance performance and recovery. Whether you're a seasoned athlete or just starting out on your fitness journey, Allsport Pharmaceuticals has the perfect supplements to help you achieve your goals. Plus, with their commitment to quality and safety, you can trust that you're getting a product that's both effective and reliable. So what are you waiting for? Take your fitness game to the next level with Allsport Pharmaceuticals. Visit the website today to learn more.
It has so many applications.
It started as a school project, right? I was double dipping, man, right? I was trying to use my day job to facilitate my daydreams. So, but I made it work. But I was like, legit, the whole reason I got invited to the Google thing was because I was like, I started interviewing kids around the campus I work on. And the kids love to move. And I was asking, who likes to run? And I go in each class, and every kid's raising their hand all the way up to 4th grade. As soon as we hit 5th grade, boom, 2 kids raise their hand. It's the 2 kids who play organized soccer or something like that. It's like, hold on, whoa, what happened? why isn't it you guys like to run anymore? And my theory, and I even did a TED talk, an educational TED talk on this, was the way you move matters. And this is how I became a pro. I went all the way through college scholarships and successful high school career and got all kind of accolades, but no one ever taught me the minutia of how it is to run proper. And my partner did that for me once I got out of college and no one was asking me to play for him anymore. It took us 6 months. It completely changed who I was as a human being. And it was very basic information I could have learned when I was 8 years old. But it was also information that was holding me back this entire time. And then when I learned it, I was a little upset, but I'm like, I can't blame the people that were before me that didn't understand this. But now it's my responsibility to help as many people understand this as possible. But I can't be everywhere. So let me build something that can teach it to people on autopilot or almost autocorrect so that they could get it. And let's put this in the hands of students. Let's put it in classes. It shouldn't just be the PE teacher's responsibility for these kids to be active. I should be sitting down doing math actively. It's going to just make the juices in my brain flow better anyways, and I'm going to learn and retain the information more when I add physicality to it, as opposed to just sitting at a desk. And the biggest reason why these kids stop raising their hand is because we don't teach these basic fundamentals the way we teach people how to read and write. To read and write, I'm going to teach you ABC. I'm going to teach you letters. I'm going to sing you songs about it. Then I'm going to give you words. Then I'm going to put together sentences, then paragraphs. Now we'll grab a book. You go to PE, they're like, hey, here's a sport. Here's how you play. Here's what you do. We forgot all that stuff. We just gave them the book instantly and said, play and move. And kids move, and our body likes to move. It's designed to move, so you enjoy it. But when you're not doing it the right way, you can only read with dyslexia. You can only read out loud in class and say the wrong words and get made fun of so long before you stop wanting to read. And you can only move incorrectly for so long before you stop wanting to move. And that's a big problem, you know. So it needs to become a societal problem that everyone pays attention to, but we usually just say be active and you're good, you know. You'll figure it out somewhere along the way, but you need a good coach.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I've never thought about that, but yeah, at some point we go from like just as kids, we're all just running around, literally just not even doing anything. We're just literally running around and like waving our arms in the air and screaming and like, you know, getting on people's nerves, but we're doing that. And then one day
what
just
we're
like
doing,
we're sitting on the couch.
But what we are really doing is we're mimicking what we see, right? So like if you tell a kid to act like I'm driving a car, they're going to do this. They have no consciousness of the fact that it takes a gas pedal and a brake pedal and all the other nuances that go into actually operating a vehicle. They just see this. So when I just see someone run, I just see arms and legs move, and I try to imitate it. You tell kids start to imitate reading a book. They don't understand what's on the page, but they'll hold the book and they'll imitate it, but they won't get anything out of it. And these kids are imitating movement unless they're fortunate enough to get around someone to teach them the right way. And most of us are not. But movement applies across the board. You know, if I learn how to run, how many sports does that translate to? I learn how to jump. More importantly, how to land from a jump. How many sports does that translate into? So that fundamental basis should be fundamental in education, but that doesn't necessarily create great employees. And don't get me started on that tangent, right? But that's all the education system is really about, is can I make more employees? Yeah. So there's no real incentive for them to change that pedagogy and say, no, this is the way we want to raise our children to be in society. If we really wanted to make human beings go through an educational system that's most beneficial for them, entrepreneurship, financial literacy, and movement literacy would be at the forefront of what we teach. And they don't even really exist. You might get an economics class and you go to PE class. They don't really exist. So, but that's where the most passion and the most fulfillment comes in my life. But in most of the people in my algorithm or my circle that comes around, that's where it comes to true fulfillment and purpose and just flat out happiness, you know? Yeah. If you move really well and you're not very smart, I think you're happier than someone who's really smart that can't move very well. You just have a little different level of happiness. Just saying.
I think that's very true. I mean, as humans, we have a body to use it and we have a brain to use it. And I think we have to we have to be fair and equal when it comes to like how we treat both of those things. And there's been certainly a drop off in how we treat, how we value our body as an individuals, as a society. I think just all the way around.
100%.
It was really good getting to chat with you. I appreciate, the conversation. It's extremely fascinating when it comes to, movement and when it comes to how that really affects our society. Sports play a huge role. It's not just a sport. It's teaching kids, and it's not just movement. It's, it's life. I can't remember, movement is medicine. I think that's such a huge, I think it's overstated and like underappreciated, but it's so true. We can't be true to who we are if we can't utilize our bodies. It's just, I think it's an expression of who we are.
Have kids. One of the worst feelings ever, being an ex-football player. Of course, I deal with the trauma that I put myself through for over 20 years, but I refuse, no matter how much I'm in pain, not to get down and wrestle with my kids and to run and pick them up and have them on my shoulders. And it breaks my heart to think of people that do get stuck in that situation. I might be able to teach you something, but I can't be physical. I can't play with you, which is how they're learning the world initially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You got movement is medicine. I told my wife that literally this morning. She went to go ride some horses. And she's like, I'm a little stuffy, but I think I'm going to ride. And I'm like, movement is medicine. You got to get out there and you move. And the one we love to say too, being a little catty, playing on the times that we're in, but more than anything, movement matters. Black lives matters, all lives matter, but hey, movement matters, right? The way you move matters, and that's why we put that ethical part in there as well. Like, if we move better as human beings, we feel better as well, and that's what it's all about.
Definitely. Like I said, I appreciate you coming on. Where can people find you? Where can people find your products?
2-8 TWO and the number 8 Bandz, BANDZ on all platforms. 2-8 Bandz on IG, YouTube, TikTok. I think we have a Pinterest. Amazon. We're on Amazon, and our website is 2-8. If you put 28 BANDZ Z at the end, 2-8 Bandz, you'll get to us. You'll find us. Google us. Any way you put it, 2-8 Bandz will show up.
If you're tired of searching for a coach or trainer, somebody who knows what they're talking about and has experience, make sure you go check out the new Coach's Corner on weightroompodcast.com. You can find quality, qualified coaches to help you achieve your goals, whether that's in bodybuilding or just general fitness. Stop wasting time and start achieving your goals today. The link to the Coach's Corner is down in the description below.